Okay, so let's begin. In this video, we're going to go ahead and start our character for the first time. And we're going to start by teaching you a couple of things that are new that were not in the first time section. And we're also going to do a quick little basic block out to get us started. Now, before we begin, I would like to remind again everybody on this, if this is your absolute first time opening ZBrush, I do recommend that first section to use first because a lot of the things we're going to be doing right now kind of compound in to what you've already learned in that first section. It's basic stuff. It's sort of that stuff that, it will become naturally ingrained because you're reusing it so many times. So please feel free if you are the first time beginner user and you don't know things like dividing a mesh up and then cycling up or down through the different meshes, I would definitely recommend that first section for the first time user. So with that said, let's get started. Now again, the video is about on here for this one going to be about how we set up our reference and how we can do a block out. So with that said, go ahead and try to download the references. There should be 2 files from your resource folder. And those 2 files are a JPEG, a 2D image, and a OBJ, which is a 3D model containing the end product result. So take a moment to pause and download those now if you can. Now, once you have downloaded that, what I want you to do is just kind of double click and look at that image. Because what's happening right now is that image is going to look very different from what we see on here, because I'm going to load my reference image on here, and what you're looking at is an image of a finished product, and I kind of am going to kind of put in a quick scratch image just to demonstrate what it looks like. It's not going to be like a finished concept or anything like that. It's just going to be like a quick sketch that I did just for the sake of demonstrating how to load 2D reference image in. That's really all it is. And we're going to be kind of going over Spotlight and how it works with the 2D reference images. You do have a 3D model also in there, and if you want, you can go ahead and hit import and bring that in. We've shown also in subtools how to append models, so don't forget we can do that. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Let's first disable the lightbox, like so, by clicking on the lightbox or the comma key. Let's bring back a little bit more real estate here. If you want to get more image, we did do a demonstration of that. Just go into Documents, click W Size, and hit New Documents. Remember, feel free to pause, stop, rewind, play again if I ever go too fast. So with that said, let's go ahead and load in our 2D reference image. First, we go up to Texture and scroll to where it says Import. This is where we bring in our 2D image. And go ahead and I double click on your image. It will show up right here, and you can kind of see this sketch, which is very different from the image that you have, which should be an ortho. Go ahead now and left click on that, and what you want to do is just click on Add to Spotlight, and it's going to show up right there in front of you. Now from here, we're going to have like a little menu here, and this is sort of the spotlight dial. There's a whole bunch of things we can go over with this, but for now we're going to just show you how to move the spotlight like so, rotate it like so. If you want, you can also do shift rotate to snap. We can also, right next to rotate, scale it, and we can pan it across like so. We can move the spotlight dial, and like a pivot point when you scale it, and it can kind of go bigger or smaller. And again, this is a different image from what you're seeing. And if you want to make the dial disappear, hit the Z key. Z is in zebra. And if you want it to come back, hit Z again. to make all of Spotlight disappear, hit Shift Z. So that's kind of the basic breakdown of Spotlight. So let's now go ahead and go into bringing some primitives in here. Now, a lot of people are going to use the 3D image. In my opinion, I'd like to see if people can use the 2D reference if you can. I only put the 3D image only in as reference, but let me go ahead and show you something real quick first. If you do decide to go with 3D reference, I'm going to draw in a primitive. First, I'm going to click on the cylinder. I'm going to change it to a sphere. And then I'm just going to go ahead, left click, drag, bring it in. Hit the T key. Hit the Make Polymesh 3D. We already did all this before. Now, if you try to import a 3D image on here, it will replace this piece. So what you need to do is click off of here into another piece, like a cylinder, and you need to go ahead and import the 3D image from here. And then once you have that 3D image, like so, whoops, trying to figure out which one I have. Go ahead and hit Make Polymesh. There we go. Once you have everything that you want, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit Subtool and Append, and you're going to look for your 3D model up here where it says Quick Pix, and you can bring it up there. And of course you can press the W key to go through and translate across your main model so you can kind of see it. Now again, I'm not recommending anyone to do that, but I just want to kind of give you a heads up. One thing to note about Spotlight is when this is turned on, you're not really going to have access to a lot of sculpting tools. I believe Move Brush you will, but to kind of turn it off, to make sculpting enabled, you gotta kind of turn it off like so. It's a very stupid rule ZBrush has. I've never been a fan of it. And also keep in mind X is symmetry. And I like to also have local symmetry, so if you ever want to do anything there, that's what you got. So let's go ahead and set up some primitives. So to begin with, I'm going to go ahead and this is probably going to be the head. Let's append in another piece on here. If it wants me to, there we go. Let's see. I'm going to choose the sphere and 3D. And let's bring this guy down here. And I'm using my gizmo, hitting the W key. And I'm just going to kind of bring this in like so. Maybe bring it in like that. Like so. And I'm just kind of going through here. And let's see, we can do the same thing for the arms and the legs here. So I'll just go ahead and duplicate the mesh instead of appending it. And I'm going to hit the W key again. And then I'm just going to bring this guy in. And one thing that we have to decide here at this point is do you want to make this a T pose or an A pose? Normally, I would go with a T pose only if I was planning on doing some sort of work on the character for rigging or animation. If not, then we'll probably just go with just a pose, since this is mainly a digital sculpting beginners course. Now we're just kind of putting placeholders in here. We're not really doing anything else than that. We didn't talk to you about mirroring, so this is an opportunity to also learn something new. Now just before, we're going to duplicate this mesh as well, and then this time to mirror, It's a weird place to find mirror, but if you go through deformation, you'll find mirror right there. And now you might notice also because we mirrored the gizmo is in a different place. Let's go ahead and recenter the gizmo over here with that upside down teardrop and just kind of bring him like so. Now hold left alt or left option to reorient the piece right here. And again, pause, pause, pause. We're just kind of going through and setting things up to be a very simple, basic mesh. All right, well, halfway through it. Then we're going to append, and I'm probably just going to go again with another cylinder. And I can also just click, instead of finding over here, I can find it here by holding left alt left option and left click, and then hit the W key. And he's got pretty short stubby legs. He's a little guy. And now repeat what you've learned again. And that's going to be duplicate, deformation, mirror, and center point that guy. All right. Now we got one more thing to do, and that's the hat. Not going to be too hard. This is going to be pretty easy. Append. We need a new type of shape, so we can go with the cone, the arrow, cone. This is going to give me some opportunities to show you how to remesh geometry to give us something different. Let's bring it down. I'm scaling the guide out. And I'm not going to mess too much around with the rotation because I'd like to have some symmetry options with me. So I think that's going to be it. We have a staff to work on, but until I know where everything is here, the staff's going to kind of come towards the end. This is sort of a basic block out. Now, from this point on, what we're going to do is we're going to show you how we're going to merge these meshes in with Dynamesh, which was one of the end resulting last lessons, to kind of bring these together and sculpt and smooth all these pieces in. So feel free again to do you know, anything from you know, just quick like just real easy quick you know, adjustments of any kind. You know, if you feel that there's something you want to see on there, go for it. So take your time, just kind of get that right shape. If you're that first time user, this is where you're supposed to be taking your time. In the next lesson, we'll talk about how we can bring all this together in Dynamesh and start sculpting out with your brushes. So with that said, stick around and stay tuned. Oh, and don't forget, quick save.